All right, let's just dive right in. We all have this incredibly powerful, ancient alarm system built into our bodies. I mean, it's designed for survival, but in our modern world, it can sometimes feel like it's, well, working against us. So today, we're going to unpack that system, the fight or flight response. You know that feeling, right? That sudden jolt of energy, the racing heart, the shoulders tensing up around your ears. It feels totally automatic, almost like someone just flipped a switch inside you. Well, that's because they did. This isn't some random feeling. It's a very precise biological reaction that's been fine-tuned over millions of years.
So, let's start at the very beginning. This whole response system, it's not a flaw in our design. Not at all. It's actually a brilliant piece of evolutionary engineering, a survival tool that kept our ancestors alive when they were faced with very real, very physical threats.
Now, the official name for it is the fight or flight response. Sometimes it's called the acute stress response. It was first put on the map over 100 years ago by a physiologist named Walter Bradford Cannon, and he's the one who identified this as a fundamental reaction to any perceived threat, getting an animal ready to either stand its ground and fight, or, turn and run for its. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Imagine our ancestors out on the savannah and they spot a predator. There's no time to sit and think about a game plan. They needed an instant full-body upgrade for maximum strength and speed, like right now. And that's exactly what this response is. It's the ultimate biological performance enhancer. So how in the world does the body pull this off so fast? Well, it all comes down to our autonomic nervous system, which is basically the body's autopilot. And this system has two key parts that work in this beautiful opposition, a gas pedal and a brake.
Okay, so this duality is just fascinating. On one side, you've got the sympathetic nervous system. That's the gas pedal. When you perceive a threat, it floors it, releasing a chemical called norepinephrine to get your body ready for intense action. Then on the other side, you have the parasympathetic nervous system. That's your brake. Its whole job is to calm everything back down, activating our rest and digest mode once the danger is past.
And when that gas pedal gets slammed down, whoa, the changes are immediate and they are dramatic. Your heart starts pounding to pump more blood. That blood gets rerouted away from things like digestion and sent straight to your major muscles and brain. Your liver dumps sugar into your bloodstream for instant fuel. You start breathing faster for more oxygen. Your pupils get wider to let in more light. Every single change is designed for one thing and one thing only: peak physical performance, right now. And this isn't just a nervous twitch. It's a super sophisticated chemical cascade. It all starts in the brain's emotional processing center, the amygdala, which basically screams, danger! That message goes to the hypothalamus, our command center. The hypothalamus then signals the pituitary gland, which sends a messenger hormone down to the adrenal glands. And boom, that's the final step. The adrenals flood your body with adrenaline and cortisol, the hormones that supercharge all those physical changes we just talked about. It's an incredibly fast and efficient chain of command. But, and this is the really big but for us today, this entire system was designed for short, intense bursts. A few minutes of terror, followed by the feeling of safety. The problem is, our modern world has created a situation where for a lot of us, that alarm, it never really shuts off. And that's the real issue, isn't it? Your body doesn't really distinguish between a predator in the bushes and an overflowing email inbox. To your nervous system, a perceived threat is a perceived threat. And when those threats are constant, work pressure, money worries, endless news alerts, that fight or flight system can get stuck in the on position. And when that system is chronically activated, we start to see the wear and tear. The very same things that help us survive a short-term crisis become damaging over the long term. That constant muscle tension leads to aches and pains. The flood of stress hormones messes with our sleep and digestion. Our brain, constantly on high alert, struggles to focus, leading to that feeling of brain fog. This isn't in your head. It's the real physiological cost of an alarm that just won't stop ringing. Let's look at a really specific and super common example: bruxism. You probably know it as teeth grinding or clenching. It's just a perfect case study of how this chronic stress shows up physically. That constant readiness for action translates into this sustained, involuntary muscle tension right in the jaw. And look, this is not a niche problem at all. The data shows that nearly a third of people experience this while they're awake, and another 13% do it in their sleep. That is a huge chunk of the population dealing with a direct physical side effect of their nervous system being on high alert. And what's worse is that it can become this vicious, self-reinforcing cycle. So stress activates that HPA axis. That's the whole brain to adrenal gland cascade we saw earlier. This increases muscle tone, which leads to the grinding. But then the discomfort, the pain, the poor sleep from the grinding, that becomes a new source of stress, which feeds right back into the loop and just keeps the whole thing going. Okay, so we understand the problem. Our ancient wiring is kind of clashing with our modern world. But the good news is, we're not helpless here. We can actually learn to find the manual override switch and intentionally activate our body's relaxation response. One of the most effective tools for this is something called progressive muscle relaxation, or PMR. It's a simple but really powerful technique. The whole idea is to systematically tense up a group of muscles, hold it, and then just let it go completely. By doing this, you're actively teaching your brain and your body to recognize the difference between a state of tension and a state of deep relaxation. And the effects are totally measurable and real. PMR directly counteracts that fight or flight response. It actively lowers levels of the stress hormone cortisol, it slows your heart rate, and it reduces your blood pressure. You are essentially telling your sympathetic nervous system, hey, stand down, while you manually engage the parasympathetic brake. And, the best part is just how easy it is to do. You just find a quiet spot, breathe in, and tense a muscle group, like making a really tight fist, for about 5 seconds. Then, as you breathe out, let it all go, and just focus on that feeling of release for 10 or 15 seconds. Then you just work your way through your whole body, one muscle group at a time. So, what's the big takeaway here? Why does all this matter? Well, understanding this system isn't just an interesting biology lesson. It's about empowerment. It's about learning to take back a degree of control over a system that often feels completely and totally automatic. So here's the bottom line. We live in a world that is constantly pushing the buttons of our ancient survival wiring, but we don't have to just be passive victims of it. By using simple mind-body techniques, we can actually shift from being purely reactive to being consciously responsive. We can learn the language of our own nervous system. All right, so let's just recap the main points. First, remember your stress response is a feature, not a bug. It's supposed to be there. Second, when it gets stuck on, it has real physical and mental costs. Third, and this is the most important one, you can learn to communicate with this system. And finally, simple techniques like PMR give you a way to manually hit your body's brake. And that really is the final thought to leave you with. This isn't about getting rid of stress, because that's impossible. It's about changing your relationship with it. Now that you have a better understanding of the user manual for your own body's alarm system, you have more of a choice in how you respond. So the question is, what are you going to do with that knowledge?